Now, their second mistake is everything that they brought in way too big. It's just way too big to start your fire. Okay? So that was their second mistake.
Oh, no
too
timber.
big. Third mistake is that everything that they brought in usually is punky. You see, remember that 6 inches of bacteria that's on the ground? As soon as this stuff falls out of the sky and hits that ground, the bacteria take over. Even right now, you can get in these leaves and push them away, and it's moist. I can look at this. This is soaking wet. It hasn't rained in days, and it's still soaking wet. And what happens? That bacteria and that moisture turns this stuff to punk wood. That's punk. It doesn't light. It doesn't burn very well. It's real smoky. It doesn't make hot coals for cooking. Nasty, nasty wood. First thing we do is I want to find a platform. I don't want to work on the ground. I always pretend the ground is soaking wet. Okay? And if I do this, and I do these steps every time in an emergency situation, I don't have to think about it. This is how I start my fires every time, and our survival instructors have been teaching it like this for over 40 years in every environment. This is the best thing we've come up with. You find a platform. Now, a platform can be a piece of wood like this that's relatively flat. I can go, even when it's raining, I can go up to these pine trees or these dead oak trees, and I can peel that bark off, and it'll be dry on the inside, and I can set that down. Or I can just take sticks and set them side by side, just like that, just to make a platform to work on. You don't want to work on the wet ground. You don't want to work in the dirt. I mean, it's just not cool, man. You need a platform to work on. So I found me a platform, relatively stable platform. Then I bring a brace. This is a brace. It's about the size of a broom handle. Okay, and I can set that right down beside it, and I'll show you what that's all about here after a while. But this brace and platform is the key to starting a fire. Those two right there. Okay, I've also will bring in 2 sticks. One laid side by side, or I found this V. And I'm setting this down, and look, it's actually naturally up off the ground. Because when I bring my kindling in, I don't want to just throw my kindling down on the ground. No, I want to be able to elevate my kindling. Okay, and I want 3 different sizes. I want pencil lead size, I want pencil size, and I want finger size and up. 3 distinctive. And where do I find that? Well, when you're going to start a fire, and we're talking about a twig fire or a squaw fire, okay, we talk about looking up, because that's not where the bacteria are at. So I come out here, and I look. And right there, I got my pencil lead, my pencil, and my finger size, all in one. It's up off the ground, so it's not subject to the bacteria. It's the last thing that gets wet because it's protected by the canopy. It's the first thing that dries out because it's up off the wet ground, and it's in the sunlight and in the air, and which dries it out almost immediately. And it can start raining, and it would have to rain for at least 2 days for this to even get soaking wet. I mean, I pulled this stuff off after it's been raining for 3 or 4 hours, and not even this is wet on the inside because it's being protected and is up off the ground. So I can bring this in, and I like to set it up like on my chair. And I'm going to bring in a whole bundle of this stuff. I'm going to go to these pine trees. Look at all around here. It's everywhere. I'm going to break it off. I'm going to get a big old bundle. And you need lots and little, guys. Lots of little. Make sure it has a lot of this little stuff. And I break it all off, and I all put it all in one direction like this, to where the big ends are all forward. So as I'm walking through the woods, I'm not walking through like this, and it's getting caught up on everything, okay? So when I get back, I'm not left with just this stick. Everything else is just ripped off. And I'm going to lean it up against my chair, and then what I do is I start taking it apart. I go my pencil lead first, and I want them long. Okay, I break them off like this. I want them long, and I set those down first. I don't want to see any of this. I want something on me in my backpack, survival kit, fanny pack, on me that's going to be my ultimate ignition source, which is going to work in every environment, at whatever altitude, 100% every time. So let's take a look at some of these and see what we got. Oh, is that 100% going to be matches?
No.
Absolutely not. Do I use matches down at the camp and car camping? Oh yeah. But it's not my foolproof ignition source. These are get wet, and they're useless. So what am I going to carry with me all the time? That's my fail-safe ignition source. That's flint and steel. Flint and steel, guys. It's the only way to go. Even don't forget your medical kit. Even an alcohol pad.
Oh, yeah.
You know, take that out.
You're sworn as petroleum jelly.
Yep.
Can't you do that sometimes?
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, petroleum jelly is one I just discovered.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorites. That wind's blowing it up. It's not working too good. I have to fluff it up. A lot of times you just have to really pull this stuff apart and give it some air. There we go.
That's just alcohol.
Just alcohol pad.
Nice.
Well, it's going to burn pretty quick.
Fire.
Fire, good.
Fire.
Okay. One of my favorite, again, is cotton balls and petroleum jelly. Let me show you a cotton ball just by itself. It's amazing how quickly they light. And then let me show you a cotton ball with a little bit of petroleum jelly on it. Now, don't forget your chapstick. If somebody has that, you can mix the chapstick up with grasses, with paper, you know. But if a lot of people, they'll always bring out an ignition source. A lot of times they'll bring, you know, your lighters and your matches, but they always forget the tinder. But if I can take and squeeze a little bit of petroleum jelly on a cotton ball, and I can take and fill up a film canister or a medicine bottle or a Ziploc bag of just these dipped cotton balls and stick them in there, and if I have a bag of these and this, I'm always ready to start a fire. And that's what I want to have on me in my backpack or my fanny pack. And then I can pull this apart, and you mix it all up, and you really want to pull it apart, expose all these edges, because it's these fine edges that are going to catch that spark. Mix that petroleum jelly up in there.
Even if some of that water gets in that jelly, that's probably still going to catch, right?
Yep, and still. Then you got this extra you can put on your lips. And watch how, now look how much more of an intense flame I have. And that's what I want. I want a lot of heat, a lot of flame, and I want it to burn a long time because this could be damp. And that's going to maybe have to dry out some of this stuff. Hold it together, nice and tight. And I just threw it on there. What am I doing? Smothering that fire in, you know. I got to have the oxygen and stuff. That's where the brace comes in. You set the brace parallel to your platform. Now you lay your first stage over. And you wait, and you're looking at it. And if it starts licking through the flames, then you can go to your next stage. Grab a handful, don't one stick it. Put the whole thing right down on top of there. If you start to see smoke, you lift your brace up to give it air and watch what happens. BAM! Look at that! Now I go to my next stage. And I can try to put it out. I can try to smother it. Guess what? If I see smoke, I just lift up on the brace, watch what happens. BAM! Look at that! That's how you start a fire. See, I can't control a teepee or a log cabin. You light it and you got to stand back or you got to get your face in there, you got to blow and you know, getting all this. By having a brace and platform, by having this brace, I can control every stage. Hi, I'm Reggie Bennett from Mountain Shepherd Wilderness Survival School. You can find us at www.mountainshepherd.com.